Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're viewing this. My name is Mike, and I am the Crypto Liberal. Thank you for joining me today. It's a hot day down here in Arizona, 106 today, hottest day of the year. Won't be the hottest day of the year soon, though. Today, I'll probably end, this video by talking a little bit of crypto. But, as I said when I started this channel just a few days ago, there are a few reasons I started it. One is because of all the FUD. It was a short-term reason, trying to stop the FUD, as far as the price movement and everybody trying to scare everybody out of the market, and I wanted to lend my voice to help keep people calm and in the market, and dollar cost averaging and all that good stuff, right? But the other, more long-term reason was to, talk about why I saw Cardano and Ethereum both better investments than even Bitcoin. And I still think that to this day, and money put into Cardano and Ethereum today is going to surpass, your return on Bitcoin. Any money put into Bitcoin today, a year from, by the end of the year, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But the more medium-term reason was because it's political season, right? And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, some events that have occurred right in the past 24 hours. And I would regret not putting my voice out there to talk about those events. A lot of times in political discussions, people try to both sides issues. Both sides are to blame. Both sides share blame for whatever issue they're talking about. The events in Buffalo yesterday, it isn't both sides. There's one side to blame. It's today's Republican Party. It's today's right-wing zealots. And it's not just today. This has been something brewing for decades, right? The Republicans have courted the votes of racists across the country, but mostly the South, for decades. I think you could go all the way back to Ronald Reagan, really kicking off his campaign in 1980, speaking in Philadelphia, Mississippi, right? Just a few miles from where three civil rights workers were brutally killed for just trying to register African Americans to vote. And they were murdered. You should watch Mississippi Burning. Great movie. But Ronald Reagan pretty much kicked off his campaign in that area at a county fair, I think, talking about states' rights. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was courting the votes of racists. He was courting the votes of white racists. And there's a reason, since then, Mississippi hasn't voted for a Democratic president. And same thing with Alabama and Tennessee and Kentucky. And you go, right along the whole South. They vote Republican for one reason. They try to gerrymander their districts for one reason. Because they're afraid of whites being replaced, right? And that's what it's transitioned into over the decades. It's the demonization of brown people, whether they be African Americans or whether they be migrants, immigrants, legal or illegal. And it's a one-side issue. You have a whole party, pretty much, that winks its eye and, it's not out and out blatant racism, but they wink their eye and welcome them into the party tent. But it's getting worse, right? It is becoming out and out blatant racism. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking at white supremacist events, and she will probably get reelected. And and talking about Jewish space lasers or something. I mean, it is becoming openly, blatantly racist in that party. And not only the party, but their media, their media, backers, right? Fox News, Tucker Carlson, espousing white replacement theory, conspiracy theories, not a theory, conspiracy theories, that there's a movement afoot in the liberal Democratic Party to replace white people with brown people, right? It, it's it just boggles the mind that there are people that follow this, believe this, and they all are in the Republican Party. It's a one-side issue. And so going to the events of yesterday, all these people, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, Donald Trumps, who say about a white supremacist protest in Charlottesville, right? That there are fine people in that white supremacist group. He is courting their vote. He wants their vote. I've often thought about, I think every election, every single election, the candidates should be asked, do you disavow all racism? Do you want racist, white racists to vote for you in this upcoming election? And get them to disavow it. Get them to say, no, I don't want their vote. They can go vote for David Duke or whatever white supremacist is running. They're all running as Republicans. So, that there's no other, that's their tent. They're welcome inside their tent. And I'm not saying all Republicans are racist, but all racists are Republicans. And so going to yesterday, they all share responsibility. The Tucker Carlsons, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Donald Trumps, they all share responsibility for this ass that drove 200 miles looking just for a venue populated by a majority of African Americans, a customer base that's majority African Americans, to just go shoot it up and kill as many people as he could. And it's obvious, right? He did it based on race. He did it based on this conspiracy theory that the white race is, liberals are attempting to replace the white race with brown people. And it's sad. And in my life, I've lost, I've been around a while. I'm older than many people in the crypto world. I've lost a lot of relationships in my life because that's something I won't abide. I won't abide racist talk. And I think if you're white and listening to this, you've experienced that. You have, right? Where you're sitting down with, maybe a new acquaintance or somebody you've known for a while, and they'll say something racist or just come right out and say the N-word. And I don't put up with it. I once saw a poll when Black Lives Matter movement was strong a couple years ago, right? All the protests were happening. And the poll was, is it okay to silently support the Black Lives movement, or should you lend your voice to that? And unquestionably in my life, I've tried to lend my voice to that. So when I hear somebody in casual discussion or wherever, right, say something racist, I'll call them on it. And I've had relationships, friendships, I guess, end because of that issue. Here's a perfect example. My wife and I got married right out of college, and we went to Oregon. We grew up in Minnesota, went to college in Minnesota, graduated, got married, and then moved to Oregon so she could go to optometry school. So we graduated, got married, and moved to Oregon in the span of like 3 weeks, right? and didn't know a single person in Oregon. It was at a time there was no internet, so we got our apartment through the mail pretty much, and so moved out there not knowing a single soul, not knowing where we were going, where we were going to live, basically, and got there and and she was a first year in optometry school. So the first thing you do, right, is you meet all the people around you, and you go out for drinks and dinner or whatever. And I'll never forget literally the first time we went out with this group of people. I think a couple of them had known each other, but it was like a group of 4 or 5 other people besides us. And I was kind of the only spouse there. All the other people were single. And we were young, right? Young 20s. And so nobody was really married, and they were all in graduate school. So it was my wife and like 4 or 5 other students and me. And and these were college graduates, mind you, and they were seeking out a professional doctorate degree. They were going to be eye doctors, and we're all sitting around having drinks, like literally the first time we've ever hung out with these people. And I know 3 of them specifically, because this is actually 4 of them. 2 of them were from Wyoming, 1 was from North Dakota, and 1 was from Maine. And the ease with which the N word came out of their mouth at a discussion where they didn't know each other and they didn't know us, and it just started. I don't, I was, my jaw hit the floor, and these were going to be my wife's colleagues for the next 4 years, right? And I put a stop to it right away, and I said, hey, we don't talk like that, and I appreciate if you don't talk like that around me. And there's some things I regret about that time, because I heard it from other students in the subsequent years too. And the one thing I regret is not going to the dean at some point during those 4 years and saying, you got a fucking problem. You got students, outwardly racist students. They're going to be representing your school for the next 30, 40 years in a professional environment that are outwardly fucking racist. And needless to say, don't keep in touch with one single one of them. I know 1 has died, unfortunately, sadly, from breast cancer since then. But the other ones are still around. Catch wind of them in the school program updates that they send out quarterly or whenever we get them. But that's just one example. And I've had examples in my family where the N word is said, partly because they're racist, and partly probably because they know I don't put up with it and they're trying to pick a fight. But somebody in my immediate family that 20 years ago, I just don't talk to them anymore because the N word was used. I don't put up with it. So my goal here is to just lend my voice to this discussion and say this isn't a 2-party problem. This is a 1-party problem, and the Republican Party needs to fix it. They need to stop it. They need to kick those people out of the tent. This isn't the first time what happened in Buffalo isn't the first time some racist has, gotten radicalized by their talk of white replacement theory. It happened in that church where some psycho went in. It happened in El Paso. Their anti-gay talk happened. They've been anti-gay forever, and you get that Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. It's disgusting. And so that's just the racism part, right? Don't get me started on the guns. Their party and their kowtowing to the gun lobby. They're responsible. It's a 1-party issue. So that's just, I didn't want to talk about crypto today necessarily because it's another sad day in this country that isn't going to go away because one party refuses to address it. It's it's exceedingly depressing. So, but crypto. Let me just say this: I'm, that support line still holding. It looks like crypto's going up a little bit today. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention about this whole thing is you notice I follow a few people on my Twitter account. Follow me on Twitter at crypto_liberal. But I follow a few people, and they're kind of Bitcoin. Some of them are Bitcoin maxis, right? And some of them, not one single one of them, right? The Bitcoin maxis, the anti-government folks, the right-wing whack jobs, which they kind of all fall in the same category for the most part. Not one of them has said a thing to call to lend their voice to, say racism is wrong, right? But I have seen people complaining today on Twitter about CBDCs and the war on the unvaccinated. Really? That's what you're tweeting about today? It's these people have no fucking conscience. It's disgusting. So anyway, it looks like crypto's going up today. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not a right-wing whack job. And I hope to continue to explore some of these themes as we go forward. I'm still of the belief dollar cost averaging right now into Cardano first, Ethereum second, and then maybe Bitcoin third, right? I wouldn't put new money to work in Bitcoin. Like I said on a prior video, Bitcoin just lies there. You don't want a girlfriend that just lies there, right? You want a girlfriend that is active, or a boyfriend. Well, I'm speaking from my perspective. But you want a partner that is active, participates, changes, puts forth the effort. Bitcoin just is. You're not building dApps or DeFi platforms or whatever on Bitcoin. It just sits there, producing block after block. But changing the world requires participation, requires effort, requires change. And Bitcoin just doesn't do it for me. Sorry. So Cardano, Ethereum, that will change the world. That's really all I have for you today. Tomorrow, join me. We're going to put a new $100 into each of the three: Cardano, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, right? And I'm putting my foot down. By the end of the year, the $100 we're putting in every week into Cardano, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, your return's going to be better in Cardano than it will in Ethereum. And your return in Cardano and Ethereum will be better than your return in Bitcoin. And that will be by the end of this year, by December 31st, your return will be better in Cardano and Ethereum than Bitcoin. A year from now, your return will be better. 5 years from now, your return will be better. 10 years from now, your return will be better. So join me. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. We can make the world a better place. I'm not giving up on changing the world, right? And I think we can do it with the assistance of crypto, but we need to make our voices heard and stop the radicalization of an entire political party in the United States, because they are fighting hard and they are anti-democratic, anti-choice, racist, anti-science, anti-knowledge. And it's sad that 50% of the people in this country vote for a platform like that. So, kind of a downer video. Tomorrow I'll be back to my chipper self. It's sad. It's sad that there's that much hate in the world still. Centuries after it should have ended, right? Centuries. And that's how you know evolution is a fact, right? Because most people have evolved. The Republican Party hasn't. And evolution in this case will win out. Love will win out. Their party of hate will lose in the end. The who said the arc of justice is long, but the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. Was that Martin Luther King? I'll have to look that up. I can't remember who said that, but it's true. We will win in the end. So sorry for the long video of me just rambling, right? And it not really crypto related, but join me in the fight, and we can do it. So I love you all. You know, love your loved ones, love your friends, and you know, speak up when you hear things that aren't right, because that's the only way it stops, is when good people do the right thing. So that's it. I love you. I am Mike. I am the Crypto Liberal. Have a good Sunday night. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.